Greetings of the day. Today I'll be talking about the significance and the importance of the rooms division department in the functional operations of a hotel. Now, in an operational environment, what most of us are aware of, the fact that the main revenue generating areas comprise of the front office, the housekeeping operations, the kitchen production, and the F&B, which is the food and beverage service areas. In my previous lesson, I also talked about other areas that are avenues for hotel revenue earnings. It comprises of the accounting and finance department, sales and marketing, the purchasing department, the um, human resources department, and so on and so forth. Hotels also have other earning points, such as gift shops and spa and recreation facilities. These are aspects that I had talked about and considered in the previous lesson. In this module, I'll be talking about the significance of the rooms division department. Now, before we understand what the main purpose and function of the rooms division department is, we need to understand the guest life cycle. Now, there are 7 stages of the guest's life cycle. Thereafter, I will be talking about the basic functioning of the rooms division department and introductions to get a basic idea of what it is and how it functions and operates. Then there are also several aspects of the rooms division department that are also considered as important key areas that a rooms division in charge, a manager, or rooms division leader, depending on the size of the organization and the role, this is how we basically address them. Now, before we get deeper into rooms division, we need to understand what are the different types of rooms that hotels have to offer to their guests. Thereafter, we need to understand about the executive committee organizational chart as well as the rooms division organizational chart. Now, these of course would differ based on the size of a hotel, based on the category of a hotel. Previously, I had mentioned about luxury hotels or boutique hotels or upper upscale properties. So, depending on the kind of property or hotel chain group or the classification of a hotel, the organizational chart differs accordingly. Before we understand the role and the importance of a rooms division manager or leader or in charge, we need to first have a basic understanding of what are the essential qualities that a leader has. And then we would apply it in the context of rooms division. We also will talk about the role of a rooms division manager along with the essential skills of a rooms division manager. And yes, I will also be talking about the future of rooms division. There are also a few trends in this regard that I will be addressing. Now, let us understand the 7 stages of the guest life cycle. Now, let us put ourselves in the shoes of guests, or let's just say that we ourselves, we intend to visit, say, an exotic destination or a tourist hub. Let's take Paris for an example. We will dream only when we communicate and interact with the people around us. We will dream and understand about how beautiful the place is. Now, by dreaming, yes, we will, of course, read articles about Paris, see the historical sites, see the tourism aspect of the place. Paris being the capital city of France, we also can read about the culture and the history and other aspects. Say, for example, the Eiffel Tower. Now, we may all want to dream of going right up on top of the Eiffel Tower and clicking pictures, or even panoramic pictures, and then going to the Moulin Rouge. And these are all attractions that actually begin this process, the guest life cycle. Now, we will dream by also going through Instagram posts, travel bloggers, and also go online and have a view of what Paris is like after hearing so many reviews from people, from family members and friends who have previously visited. And they have, of course, recommended us to visit these places. And this leads to the first stage, that is dreaming. Now, second, of course, we will select. Now, we will have to go online on, say, for example, if we need to go to Paris, we need to book a hotel, let's say the Marriott Hotel. Now, what we have to do is we have to select the hotel. Now, we go online, we read reviews on TripAdvisor and Go in India, of course, we have Go, but yes, TripAdvisor is a global platform. We will read about TripAdvisor, and thereafter we will make a decision on whether we want to stay in the hotel. Then, yes, in order to book the hotel room and the air tickets and everything, yes, we have to consider online travel agents such as Booking.com, Expedia, Traveloka, uh, etc., which is very, very commonly used. It's very popular. So we will consider Booking.com or Expedia, make my trip to book our hotel and even our airfare, say from the city of Calcutta to Paris. We have to choose the most feasible option. Say, for example, we would fly by Air France and and stay at the Marriott. Then we would book, and then we would prepare for the trip. Once the booking, once the selection of the hotel, and once the booking process has been completed, we will then prepare, pack all our essentials depending on the duration of the trip. Of course, if you're going for a week, we would pack, say, clothes for 5 days or a week or 8 days, depending on the on our requirements. Then after that, we plan a trip and then we stay in Paris. We enjoy the tourist attractions. We enjoy the French culture, the cuisine, French wine, of course. We stay at the Marriott. We enjoy the facilities of the hotel. We we use the amenities that the hotel has to offer, and we have a wonderful and an enjoyable uh, stay at the Marriott, and we have a wonderful experience and an unforgettable experience. And once we're satisfied, we share the same. We share our reviews upon checkout based on our satisfaction levels. and how much we were satisfied with the hotel service standards and the cleanliness and hygiene, etc. And now, of course, considering COVID-19, the pandemic, which has definitely impacted our industry the most. And after bearing all of this into mind, yes, safety protocols and social distancing measures have also been in place, and how well the hotel has been coping up with the pandemic in terms of cleanliness and hygiene. These are all factors, not just the service aspects, but even our satisfaction and everything, the overall experience. We will share it on social media platforms such as Instagram or Facebook to share our experiences, our wonderful experiences, beautiful memories. Thereafter, even while we are in the hotel, we are staying in the hotel, we can, of course, write a review on TripAdvisor based on our stay experience. Thereafter, we would return. We would return to India, in Calcutta, and then accordingly make plans for a next trip, future planning. So this basically covers the 7 stages of the guest life cycle, which begins from the dreaming process to selecting the hotel and the viable uh, travel options, the feasible ones. Then we book our trip. Then we prepare for our trip. We stay in the hotel and we enjoy the amenities, and even we take city tours, and then we share our experience and then return to our home country. So now, before we get into the operational side, it's important for us to understand the guest life cycle. Now, an introduction to rooms division. Now, in order to understand that in a hotel environment, rooms division does play an important role, plays a significant role, because rooms division leader or manager, he or her he or her he they hold a very senior position, because a rooms division manager is in charge of not only the front office department, but he or she's also in charge of the operational aspect of the other relevant departments that come under the rooms division umbrella, such as the housekeeping operations, for example, the upkeep of the hotel. So it is important that these two departments, the front office and the housekeeping departments, work, work in proper coordination. And hence, it is important to ensure that operations are smooth. Now, a rooms division manager, leader, or an in charge may even engage in promotional plans of the hotel. It is important for them to uh, come up with more strategic plans for a successful operation, hence generating more revenue and profits in the long term. So now it is important to streamline every aspect, every area of these departments. So therefore, a rooms division manager has a very vital role in the functioning of a hotel, because as we are aware that the front office department represents the hotel. The housekeeping also represents the hotel. Now, the front office department is the face of the hotel, and the housekeeping department sees the upkeep of the hotel, the cleanliness, the hygiene. Now, considering COVID-19 norms and practices, it is important that there's a proper alignment of tasks, of individual tasks and responsibilities in each of these departments. And it is therefore the role of the rooms division manager to ensure that the standard operating procedures are being complied and adhered to by the departments and the heads and the employees and the associates or executives or assistants and subordinates and so on. Yes, strategic planning is important for a successful operation because a rooms division manager has to strategize. He has to come up with very unique and strategic oriented plans to ensure smooth operations and hence profitability in the long run is the ultimate objective of a rooms division leader. Now, let us understand the important areas in rooms division. One is the front office. Now, we are aware that the front office department, as I'd mentioned before, is another key area. It is important for enhancing guest services by developing to exceed the needs of guests by greeting them as they arrive at the hotel, by escorting them to their rooms, to right from the front desk, to pursue allocating the rooms and taking the luggage to the rooms. Now, again, in this case, it is the proper coordination of the entire front office team, starting right from the reservations, then going forward to the guest relations and the front office associate and reception to the concierge and the bell desk to ensure that the guest services are enhanced and the guests' needs and expectations are being met. Then yes, the reservation also plays a vital role, as I mentioned before. And the reservation department aims to book individual reservations in conjunction with group sales to maximize room revenue. Now they actually have the first contact with most guests and that they communicate with them before they arrive at the hotel. Now, again, it all depends on how the guest is booking the hotel, either through the hotel website or through other online booking channels such as Make My Trip or Expedia, Booking.com, etc. Then the concierge plays a very vital role. He is or she, they are available to answer any inquiries regarding the city. Say, for example, if there are any city functions or say city tours or any events happening in the city, and say what is the fastest route to say if I'm in San Francisco, how can I get to the Golden Gate Bridge, and what is the fastest route? How can I commute there? It is also the duty of the concierge to arrange for drop and pickups and even to city tours. And if the guests would prefer traveling by, say, an MRT, a mass rapid transportation, railway train, or also commonly known as a subway, or even by taxi or even self-driven cars, then it is the duty of the concierge uh, to give first-hand information and to guide the guests in and around the city, what to explore, where to eat. Say, for example, if they want to have Asian cuisine, which is the best restaurant or the most popular one, etc., so on and so forth. So basically, this individual, he will provide exceptional customer service to all the guests. and support other departments, including sales, front office, bell desk, as and when needed. Now, security. Now, the security department in the rooms division does play a vital role because it is the security's responsibility to ensure the safety and security of the hotel and the guests throughout the evening hours. And some of the additional responsibilities include conducting security walks throughout the hotel property and responding to guest requests and any noise complaints. Now, many a times this usually happens in hotels. If there's if there say for example, in the same corridor, in the same floor, just the adjacent room to mine, like for in this instance, if I'm the guest, and if I have booked a room at the GW Marriott in Mumbai, and just the room adjacent to the one I'm staying in, there's a lot of noise coming in, and maybe the other guests probably from the same room would probably say talk at a higher pitch, and so therefore here it is the security's responsibility to respond to guest requests and queries, and even to take care of any noise related complaints. So security agents must also be able to solve and troubleshoot in order to resolve guest issues, and they should even respond to emergency situations. And it's also the duty of the securities department to make sure that there is an emergency exit window or a safe zone, say in the event if there's a fire taking place that's taking place in the hotel, or say any untoward incident. So the security does play a vital role. And yes, last but not the least, the housekeeping department. As I mentioned before, it is their responsibility to maintain the upkeep of the hotel, to ensure that the rooms are ready for sale. And yeah, as I mentioned before, there should be a proper coordination between the two departments, the front office and the housekeeping departments, respectively. Now, the main task is to clean and prepare guest rooms and to even maintain the common areas. So, yes, if there are any glitches taking place in either of the departments, it goes all the way up to the rooms division manager, as he or she, they are accountable for any glitches, and it is their responsibility to ensure that no such glitches happen, and that both the departments are complying to the standard operating procedures that have been prescribed by the management of the hotel. So right from the lobby entry to the main restrooms and the public areas, we must also determine what rooms are to be cleaned, and even what rooms are available and what rooms are occupied. So now there are several softwares that hotels actually use, such as No Cross, which is very popularly used at the Oberoi Group. And No Cross basically allows the front office and the housekeeping departments to be on the same page. Now, No Cross in this regard will say, for example, if a room is occupied and dirty, the same status will be updated on No Cross software, and the receptionist or and the front office department would also receive the update for the same, as it is accessible to both the departments. or if there are rooms that are under renovation or rooms that are vacant and dirty. So it is the responsibility of the housekeeping department and also for the front office to constantly keep in touch and keep coordinating with one another, therefore ensuring smooth service and therefore ensuring that everything is in place and there are no glitches. So each time there's a glitch, the rooms division and manager is of course a representative, and he or she, they're accountable for the overall operations of all these five departments, as these departments have play a vital role in the rooms division area. Next, I'll be talking about the different types of rooms. Now, single rooms, as most of us are aware, very common. They are rooms that are assigned to just one person. They may have one or more beds, and most cases, single rooms have just single beds. Then we have double rooms assigned to two or more people. Then we have twin rooms. Now, double rooms, of course, they again may have one or more beds. Then twin rooms. Twin rooms are rooms with two beds. They may be occupied by one or more people. So some rooms, then we have triple rooms also, which again, some hotels have this in Dubai and even other parts of the world, where a room can be assigned to three people with three separate beds. And the next category would be interconnected rooms. That is again very common, because there are many rooms, there are many families that say, for example, if they want to stay at the Oberoi hotel, so they would like to probably book a suite, or even if they cannot find an available suite with interconnected rooms, they can just book regular deluxe rooms or luxury rooms that have an interconnecting door in between. I mean, the two rooms are adjacent to one another, and instead of a wall, there is a small, I mean, not necessarily a small door, but there is a door that actually connects the two rooms, and these are known as interconnected rooms. Triple rooms, as I had mentioned before, there are rooms that are assigned to three people. Then we have quad rooms. Quad rooms are those rooms that are assigned to four people. They may have two or more beds. King and twin, yes, this is another very common and very popular type of hotel rooms rather, because most hotels either have a king size bed, a queen size bed, or a twin bed. So, room with a king size bed may be occupied by one or more people. Same goes for the queen for the queen size bedrooms, can be occupied by one or more people, and twin rooms, of course, may be occupied by one or more people, because there are standard twin rooms and there are deluxe rooms as well. So it depends on the category of the hotel, depends on the size of the hotel, the classification of the hotel. So these do play a vital role, and they play a significant role, and they do affect the type of rooms that are available there in the properties. Then we have double rooms as well. A room with two double beds. They may be occupied by more than two guests. Then studio rooms are there, the ones that have a couch and that can also be converted to a bed. May also have an additional bed. So there are different types of rooms. Thereafter, we have suites. Now, suites, we have junior suites and master suites. Say, for example, the Oberoi Hotel, it has, see, the Oberoi New Delhi, it has about 21 suite rooms. So the top of the line suite room, in this case, they call the master suite, they call it the presidential suite, which is about 2,000 square feet, if I'm not mistaken. Then they have lower category suites, say, for example, junior suites, or we can call them, in this case, they are known as deluxe suites or luxury suites. And so it again depends on the name that has been addressed, because suites are usually they are usually larger than deluxe or luxury rooms, and therefore they are separate. They even have a separate living area as well as a separate TV. So therefore, depending on the type of hotel and the and its offerings, the category of the hotel, the rooms that have been allocated by the hotels as part of the offerings to the guests, these vary on these factors. Now let us understand the executive committee chart. Now I've taken the example of a five-star super deluxe hotel, say for example the GW Marriott Hotel, or let's say the ITC Royal Bengal Hotel. Now this hotel comprises of more than 270 rooms, comprised of 274 rooms and suites, and it's a beautiful luxury five-star property which forms as part of the luxury collection hotel group of the Marriott. Now, in these kind of properties, of course, the general manager, apart from the vice president and the president, below the level of hierarchy comes the general manager. Then below the GM, there are several directors, and these directors come from different departments. As I mentioned before, the revenue generating areas as well as um, other revenue generating areas. Now, for example, the core revenue areas, yes, we have a director of F&B, and of course, we have a director of rooms division, as I mentioned before. Then there's a separate department, such as we have directors for human resources, sales and marketing, a director of engineering, you have a director of accounting. So yes, the ultimate in core decisions to improve the financial structure of the hotel, because at the end of the day, every organization wants profit, and it is the general manager who oversees the books of accounting, and to even uh, see that all the departments, the core revenue generating departments, are all on the same page as the general manager in terms of strategic operations and ensuring profitability in the long run. Now let's get into the rooms division organization chart. Now, yes, as I mentioned before, there exists a rooms division manager or a leader or an in charge, but in most cases, most of these hotels, they have a rooms division manager who oversees the operational aspect. Now, the front office manager, the security slash loss prevention manager, and the executive housekeeper, these are important heads of departments. We call them HODs or head of departments. They report to the rooms division manager. Now, the front office, it comprises of the front desk, then reservation. The front desk, of course, the receptionist, the guest relations executive, then the back back of house would, of course, um, take into consideration the reservation department, the telephone operators, and the reservations. Then comes the concierge. As I mentioned before in the previous slide, that the role of a concierge is essential in hotel operations. Then comes a cashier. Now, upon checkout or any deposits, the cashier plays a vital role. Then the communication department is also required, as even they have to, their whole intention is to ensure that there is proper communication between the front office manager, and therefore the front office manager will also communicate the same to the rooms division manager. So they, each of these departments, they have to function in a very systematic manner, and at the same time it is important to have proper coordination and synchronization. Now, under the front desk, of course, there exists AM PM shifts. Of course, there's a night audit, which is again another important aspect in this regard. Now, AM PM as morning shifts or afternoon shifts or night shifts, or straight shifts or general shifts, so swing shifts, and at the same time a night audit. So these play a vital role. Then under reservations, of course, whether it's a group or whether it's a convention or individual, again, it boils down to the same thing, that we have to consider the clientele that is coming, and then allocate and allot rooms accordingly. Then the concierge also takes look at the business side of things. You know, as I had mentioned before, the concierge has to even provide drop and pickup facilities to guests. And for example, if it's a VVIP guest, then yes, it is a concierge's responsibility to arrange for the cars accordingly, and tend to the guests, receive them, and even drop them to the airport. And yes, these rates are chargeable depending on the size of the cars that the hotel has to offer. For example, the Oberoi New Delhi, they either offer SUV vehicles, and for the business and corporate clients, or even for the celebrities, a Mercedes is often used to receive them from the airport. Now, this again depends on the profile of the guest, whether it's a CEO or if it's a celebrity, or a very famous business tycoon, for example, Mr. Mittal or Mr. Ambani in India. So, after taking all of this into consideration, the front office does play a vital role. Now, security, I had mentioned before, conducting security walks. And so they directly report to the rooms division manager. And the third is the executive housekeeper or the housekeeping director, who directly reports to the rooms division manager. Although it may be termed differently in some hotels, an executive housekeeper is known as is also known as director of housekeeping or the head of department. So ultimately, he is the main responsible person for the operations of the housekeeping department and the cleanliness and hygiene etc. Then below the executive housekeeper, yes, we hotels like the ITC, the Oberoi, the Marriott, they have an assistant executive housekeeper, and they have contract cleaners as well. Cleaners are, of course, those who have been employed by the hotel or outsourced for a short period of time on a contract. So they are known as contractual workers. Then laundry is, of course, another separate department altogether, but they all form under the umbrella of the executive housekeeper or the housekeeping department. Now, under the assistant executive housekeeper comes the floor housekeeper, the lady or the man in charge of the floor, replenishing of water bottles, maintaining the hygiene levels and sanitization, etc., of the floors and the public areas and the lights, etc., and even purifying the air. Then below them come the housekeepers and the housemen. The housekeepers and the housemen, madams and housemen, who actually go and um, physically go and clean the rooms and inspect the rooms and see that they have been cleaned, and they also have to follow the standard operating procedures of the same. And the laundry department, of course, there's a laundry manager who directly reports to the executive housekeeper. Then below the laundry manager comes the laundry staff and the uniform supervisor. Now, the uniform supervisors could be for either staff uniform, of course, and at the same time, uh, the laundry department also takes into consideration guest uniforms or guest clothing. Now, before we understand the role and the responsibility of a rooms division manager or leader, it is important to understand the qualities of a successful leader in order to have a better understanding of a rooms division manager or leader. So now, with great power does come great responsibility. So let us first understand, in brief, what are the essential qualities that a leader must have, and then I will relate the same to the rooms division department. So yes, first things first, they have to share the vision. Now, a leader with vision, he has a clear idea of where he or she they want to go and how they want to get there, and what are the outcomes of their decisions, or whether successful or how successful it is likely to be. They should be sure to articulate their vision clearly and passionately by ensuring that the team is on the same page and understands how their individual efforts contribute to higher level goals. So, working towards a personal vision with persistence and enthusiasm and tenacity will inspire and encourage others to do the same. So, he should also lead by example. Now, in this regard, even the rooms division manager or leader should lead by example and should also share his or her vision, and the same vision, of course, after several meetings and discussions, it should be implemented in the standard operating procedures. Now, these, of course, are very essential aspects because SOPs provide like a guideline to the employees, and they help in streamlining the operations of each of the departments. Then, leading by example, yes, I mentioned before that um, as a leader, the best way to build credibility and to gain the respect of others is to set the right examples. So, for example, the way NRDM conducts meetings or briefings, the same should also be incorporated and inculcated and implemented by the subordinates. So, therefore, once a vision has been established, then goals should also be short-term goals leading to a long-term vision is something that managers and leaders aspire to achieve. Whereas goals are short-term oriented, vision is something which is more long-term oriented, and therefore strategic planning is of course required in order to uh, set the standards, to set the bar, and to set the goals and responsibilities in the best possible manner. It is also important that the team that a manager, a rooms division manager, or a leader must also demonstrate the behavior that they want their people to follow. So, as I mentioned before, leading by example, um, it will also inspire others and motivate them to perform better. So, if you should also be willing to set high standards, and aligning words and actions will help to build trust and make the team more willing to follow your lead. Now, yes, a room's division manager or leader has to also demonstrate integrity. Demonstrating integrity is very important because a leader with integrity draws on his or her values to guide the decisions, behavior, and dealings with others. There are very clear convictions about what is right and what is wrong, and respected for being genuine, principled, and ethical and consistent. So this is a very important aspect in the operational aspect of a hotel or any organization on the level of hierarchy. It does play a vital role. Now, ethics again is very important. Then keeping the promises and having a strong sense of character and displaying integrity throughout the daily actions will lead to long-term rewards in the forms of loyalty, confidence, and respect from employees and subordinates. Because demonstrating integrity and at the same time keeping by promises and commitments would ensure successful leadership. Then next, it is important to communicate effectively. around us, be set example. Being humble is the most important aspect in this regard, and even imparting knowledge and empowering others is also a very vital aspect in this regard, because it is needed in today's modern 21st century. And given the fact that uh, the COVID-19 pandemic has significantly impacted the hospitality industry in a very adverse manner. But although there are several signs of recovery, but at the same time, a very strong and a level-headed individual is required to handle the operations, to ensure that the vision of the organization is being met, and at the same time to delegate, giving some level of responsibility to the subordinates, people down the level of hierarchy, and ensuring that the standard operating procedures are being followed, and there are, and even other areas are also being looked into. And of course, for example, hygiene, cleanliness. And it is important for it is important to motivate the team, especially at this point in time, the existing staff, and providing training, and even hearing problems and identifying them, and finding solutions to the same, and therefore encouraging people to give their best and motivate them and inspire them would lead to uh, a successful leader. This will result in a successful leadership. Now, rooms division manager or leader plays a vital role. As I mentioned before, the role is to streamline operations and ensure that there is a proper coordination among the departments. Now, at the same time, a rooms division manager must also be flexible. He should adopt a very flexible approach. And by a flexible approach, I mean that he has to be, apart from having a positive attitude, and apart from motivating others, should also be flexible to tackling problems, and at the same time working towards providing a solution if there are any glitches, any complaints with guests, or even, for example, timings. So there's no fixed timing for any problems to take place, but at the same time, a rooms division manager must be flexible enough to handle the same. Now, leading quality assurance, service standards. Now, these are basically, it is the role of the rooms division manager. It is his responsibility to ensure that the LQA service standards are being followed, because usually what happens is LQA, it partners with the majority of leading luxury hotel brands all over the world to optimize guest experiences. Now, this is basically a unique on-site um, approach, with comprehensive service assessments and audits. Now, as I mentioned here, hotels such as the Marriott Group and the Oberoi, they follow LQA standards. Now, there are several, as I mentioned before, for example, the concierge, or right from the time the guest is checking into the hotel, right from the security greeting the guests, to the guest relations executive, to the receptionist, to the concierge and bell desk, to the time till the time the guest checks into the hotel. And of course, LQA standards also followed in housekeeping operations, and the kitchen and F&B production areas as well. And these are the standards that these full service luxury hotels and even other hotels, upper upscale properties, diligently follow and practice and implement the same. And LQA auditors come in the form of guests to stay in these properties, in these hotels, and to assess and audit the service standards, and to see that everything is in place, and where all the standards that the hotel claims it adheres to is is kind of like a double check to ensure that the same SOP is being followed. And based on the service standards, it is um, a given hotel property is allotted a certain score by the LQA auditor. Now, most cases, as I mentioned before, they come in the form of guests to stay on site in the hotel to experience the stay and to see every minute detail and every aspect, and there is attention to detail, and these standards are being followed diligently or not, and how much the hotel is complying with its LQA standards, and based on that, a score is allocated. And most of these properties, such as the Marriott and the Oberoi Group, the ITC Group, etc., they usually receive very high scores. So out of 100%, they are usually given at least 95 or 97, which is a standard, which is why these luxury hotels have set the bar. And it is ultimately the ultimate responsibility of the rooms division manager leader to ensure that the LQA service standards are being followed and adhered to. Then a rooms division manager also monitors the room allocation, and they coordinate reservations. So again, right from reservations to the receptionist, there is a proper coordination. Then an RDM is also responsible for training the staff and the associates to handle different clients, like for example, corporate clients or celebrities or business clients, or groups or first time visitors, and how they should deal with these kind of guests. And if, say, for instance, if there have been any glitches on the part of the hotel operations, either of the departments, either front office or housekeeping, then it is the responsibility to of the rooms division manager to deal with guest complaints. And before such kind of situation arises, it is important that a rooms division manager or leader trains the staff to prevent such kind of situations to arise. The rooms division manager is also responsible for staffing, is hiring, and purchasing and budgeting as well. And not just as they're not only just confined to staffing, but also they supervise the employee payroll, and they even interview, recruit, and train new staff members, and they even provide training to the existing ones. Let's look at the skills of a rooms division manager or leader. Now, yes, effective people skills is a must. However, more than that, having enough experience in the front office department, enough in terms of years, and in some cases, having a foreign exposure would also add tremendous value to the role and the skills of a rooms division manager. They should also have strong organizational skills, and in order to streamline every operational aspect of the front office department, and to oversee the housekeeping operations sometimes. And even being stress resistant and flexible, as I'd mentioned before, is important. He has to be a team player and has to work well with the team and even motivate the existing staff and to uh, delegate responsibilities effectively to them. And overall, being assertive and having attention to detail and being well groomed, and therefore being a role model and an example to the people down the level of hierarchy. It is a very essential skill of a rooms division manager. Now, what are the trends in rooms division? Now, there have been several trends. For example, mobile bookings. Yes, booking.com, as we had mentioned before. Then diversity is again another aspect in rooms division, because a rooms division manager should ensure that there is diversity in the workforce, and problems such as racial discrimination, etc., or for special workers, especially able people, and gender and race, religion. These aspects are also of great significance and importance. Catering to a diverse clientele, for example, millennials and mice, etc. Yes, as I mentioned before, rooms division in charge or manager, he or she, they have to provide training to the staff on how to handle diverse clientele. And dealing with millennials is more different than dealing with meetings, incentives, or a convention and exhibition clientele or events, etc. These are different. So it's important to cater to these the kind of clientele different by adopting a slightly different approach. Then, of course, revenue management techniques. How how to yes, the rooms division manager also works in coordination with the revenue manager to ensure that the proper pricing strategies have been used and the rates that are being offered on the hotel website are equivalent to the rates that are offered on booking.com and TripAdvisor and Expedia, etc. It should all be in the same range or equivalent, and at the same time, how to improve occupancy and RevPAR, which is revenue per available room, and the average room rate or the average daily rate. Now, these are three key aspects of the revenue management department that I will be covering in my other modules, along with the front office operations. We will get to that later, but in brief, I would like to talk about revenue management techniques. And the three major metrics that are used are occupancy, average daily rate, and the revenue per available rooms. So it is important for a rooms division manager in charge to ensure that there is a proper coordination between the revenue manager and that they are on the same page. And effective revenue management techniques can be applied in order to boost a hotel's occupancy. Like for example, in the COVID scenario, most of the hotels have been adopting green practices and have been highlighting it. At the same time, they've also been highlighting the 6 feet social distancing norm, along with bearing in mind that safety protocols are essential. Then, of course, the social media marketing on Instagram or Google or Facebook. Each of these hotels, for example, the Oberoi Grand, it has its own it has its own page on Instagram and Google, and it has its own followers. And because of the luxury and the food and the F&B and the rooms, And the videos, of course, as I'd mentioned in my previous slide, that these do play a significant role in influencing guests to come and stay, especially during the pandemic season where PPE kits are also provided in rooms, and the staff are are wearing proper masks, and the public area is also being sanitized, and there's sanitization. There's several sanitization points in a hotel, and even the outdoor areas are also being maintained free from mosquitoes and pollution. Then at the same time, a search engine optimization. Now, for example, if I'm on Google and if I'm typing, say, best hotel in Calcutta. So the best hotel in Calcutta, it might just flash, say, either the JW Marriott or the Oberoi Grand or the ITC or the Taj Bengal. So on and so forth. So if one particular hotel's name, or say if I'm the owner of this group and my hotel is being showcased, that means I've engaged in search engine optimization so that whoever goes on Google searches for a hotel in Calcutta, my hotel will be the first one that will pop up. Then again, eco-friendly policies. The hotels such as the Westin, again another married property, the Westin Savannah Harbor Golf Resort and Spa. So they engage in eco-friendly policies. And yes, intelligent technologies. For example, Starwood Hotels did come up with the advanced LED lighting systems. Now, Starwood has also been acquired by the Marriott Group year 2016. If those of you who are not aware, so Starwood Hotels did come up with the advanced LED lighting systems, and there are other hotels in India, such as the Oberoi and the ITC Group, that have iPad-enabled features in their rooms that have that can control the lighting and the blinds in the hotels, the hotel rooms. At the same time, even engage in room service or in-room dining. Yes. So, in conclusion, I would like to say that the future is uncertain because we don't know when the pandemic will end. But yes, slowly but surely, the industry is expected to bounce back tenfold with social distancing norms in practice. Hotels are slowly but surely picking up business, and yes, hopefully by early 2022, life should be back to the pre-COVID times. Then an individual with a very high level of expertise would be required in the rooms division department uh, to oversee the operations. Yes, expertise is not just only confined to having a bachelor or master's degree, but at the same time having adequate number of years of experience in the rooms division department. Yes, a rooms division manager also, he represents the hotel, because uh, the front office and the housekeeping are directly under the rooms division department. So yes, with more power comes more responsibility. So yes, rooms division department does have a good has a bright future, but at the same time, an individual that has many years of experience behind him or her would be adequate, and would be perfect for the role of a rooms division manager. So yes, in my other modules, I will be covering uh, the front office operations and revenue management and other related areas in my other modules in the near future. Thank you.